that Phantom Menace was the last Star Wars movie I watched. I looked into my crystal ball, saw the writing on the wall, and decided watching any more would be bad for my mental health. I mean, it's just a matter of going in with the right attitude.
Right. If you're expecting kind of to capture like, with the second trilogy, like if you went in expecting to kind of capture the nostalgia and whatnot, well, these whether you buy Lucas's explanation that these were always kids movies, and you saw the first one as a kid, and so you're seeing the next trilogy as an adult, and so obviously gonna be a different experience or whatever.
Right. And I was still a kid when I was 9 when Phantom Menace came out,
Such a baby.
and I saw that in the drive-in theater that we have. Drive-through theater. God, that wouldn't work.
That line, that backup though.
Which that theater actually shut down a few years later, but
no relation.
I mean, if you want to go into the history of drive-in theaters, like they've been dying for years.
Oh yeah.
I think there's only like 2 or 3 left on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They're much more popular in California, but
weather's generally nicer for longer out there, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like as a kid, I freaking loved Phantom Menace, and because Anakin Skywalker was literally my age, so he was a very easy analog for me to plug in for that, and that's what they were going for.
Right.
But going back and watching it now, I'm just like, there's still things I like about that film, but is it a good film? It has moments.
Right. I mean, Lucas is not a terrible filmmaker. He obviously has some skill, but
what he's good at, he's amazing at. What he's bad at, he is terrible at.
Right. When he needs help with stuff and he doesn't accept it, you see that very obviously when the film suffers.
Right. I mean, like, what made the original trilogy so powerful was Spielberg was a producer. He had amazing directors for it. He had amazing producers for it, and people that he respected enough, that respected him enough to say no, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
For the prequels, he didn't have that counterbalance. Like, nobody was willing to say no to him.
Well, I think they said that with the original trilogy, where Empire is kind of seen as the better movie, but essentially what happened was that he kind of got he basically kind of had a lot more people willing to kind of go no no George, no, stop.
Right. Which, actually, funny enough, talking about film journalism, Empire was not received well when it first came out.
Right.
I was just reading a article about that recently. I mean, now it's considered, the best. But back then, no one knew, like, if better was possible. Like, everyone thought, oh no, Return would just be better. But we never got better.
Right.
So the best pile of shit is still, a pile of shit,
Ow. Oops.
Oh, Dejaro says he's an amazing... Oh yeah, I saw that, how it was saved in the edit video. I haven't watched it though. It's actually on my watch later list. Well, so what Lucas is good at is world building, or accepting the universe to be built. Even though most of it wasn't built by him, but author's license to write for him. Now that I think about it. Shit. I don't even know where the parkour room is. I got distracted.
That's fine. I got hit the pad by mistake, so.
Wow, did you fail?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Yeah, that happens.
But yeah, I remember reading, I can't believe we're still on Star Wars. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, we're talking about, like, you know, movies compared to games, and I think a lot of the Star Wars experience is very similar to, you know, we can look at that and kind of see, you know, this is what game journalism is like. You know, you have, and I think it's mostly because, like, you have the audience that you know is kind of like mindless fan base.
True.
You know, and that's basically what Lucas had for the Star Wars movies. Is basically he had kind of a mindless fan base, like, you know, people that were so tickled by nostalgia, that they you know they kind of like overlooked a lot of sins.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like, you eventually kind of got people kind of coming to their senses and kind of realizing, oh, you know, like, maybe this isn't so great. Kind of, like you said, you know, like when a bit of that nostalgia excitement fades.
So what you're saying is you're comparing Star Wars to Fallout 76.
I mean, yeah, not entirely dissimilar.
Or Diablo 3 when it first came out.
Right. I mean, yeah, until, like, you definitely kind of get, and, you know, this is you know, this is kind of a combination of developers being really good at marketing, or, you know, developers / publishers being very good at marketing, and, you know, knowing how to market. If you're a Fallout fan, hey, we're making a new Fallout that has multiplayer. It's not going to be great. Well, you know, not for a lot of people.
Actually, you know, when Diablo 3 first came out, I loved it for the first 6 hours that I played it. Because I was leveling, I was experiencing the story, I was blown away, and then I got to top level and then saw that there was literally no end game, and went, oh, that was it. The story was all they made at the time.
Right.
I was so it went from, oh, I love this game, to
oh, that's it.
oh, well, like, confusion and disappointment and sadness. Right. And then the auction house, the real money auction house went live, and I went, what? Like, what? why would someone invest? Like, why? There's nothing there.
Right.
And then they fix it with the expansion pack, and Lucas copied from excellent sources, which is legit.
Right. Yeah, I mentioned that before. Like, you know, Lucas is, you know, when we were talking about creativity a bit, you know, Lucas's, like, you know, brilliance was not in creating something that nobody had ever seen before. It was basically, like, you know, taking from the right bits of inspiration and putting together things that nobody before that had seen as fitting together quite that way.
Mm.
You know, old sci-fi serials, Kurosawa films, Campbell's Hero's Journey. Although a lot of people say that, you know, the Hero's Journey thing was kind of a Lucas kind of like going, yeah, no, I totally meant to do that all along.
Right. Yeah, it's, but so here's an interesting thought. Mm-hmm. Since we're comparing film to games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before I get into my thought, Dejara, he retcons everything. Like, Star Wars is a giant retcon. But I'm not getting into that tonight. That's its own entire live stream. I have a list of 128 retcons that he's done throughout the original trilogy. we'll save that for
Wow.
Thursday or Friday stream.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even know the depths of this myself. Wow, okay.
No, this is something that I've actually looked into extensively. It's fascinating. So, which actually I think that was actually longer now that The Last Jedi came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that list was prior to Force Awakens. I think it's actually longer now. I'll have to find it again. It's
Well,
on the
part of
internet.
that Disney.
Yeah. Well.
Some of the rest of the extended universe, so.
Well, that was prior to Force Awakens, post Disney takeover.
Right.
I think I found that list in like 2016.
Mm.
I'll find it again. It's fine.
Right.
Anyways, I forget what my thought was.
You're comparing games to
Oh,
movies.
right. The Star Wars games actually tell a much more compelling story than the Star Wars movies do. Look, KOTOR, for one.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting because, like, basically, like, Star Wars games themselves kind of tend to universally be either recognized as really great or really fucking terrible.
Mm.
And there's not a whole lot in between. Like, because I think, it kind of depends on those different eras. Like you have the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter era.
Right.
Where you have these, like, really kind of tightly crafted games. They're very heavily based on the world building. Like, I learned a lot more about Star Wars universe playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter than I did watching the movies. Like,
Right. Or the Jedi Outcast games.
Right.
Like that gave you so much knowledge on how the new Jedi Order worked and how the Force worked. Explaining, oh no, Force Choke is a dark side ability. I never knew that. Oh wait, Luke uses. Oh,
Right.
Maybe there's some miscontinuities here. And the Rogue series gave so much knowledge on how the rebellion worked. And world building, so much world building from that.
Well, I think that kind of going back to what we were talking about with Lucas being kind of a master world builder. I think that we kind of it kind of shows his expertise. That like the things that we saw were based upon a lot of other very deep things. To the point where you can build out a whole entire games that basically expand upon what might feel like like you said, the rebellion. The rebellion might seem pretty cut and dry, but there's a lot more going on to it, and Lucas probably did write out this stuff, give the good background, wrote story bibles and whatnot. And so then the game developers were able to come along, use all that information to kind of then expand upon it, create more of the universe, flesh out more of the universe that already had probably a skeleton laid out.
Right, exactly. And the sad thing though is that most of the games are considered non-canon now.
Right.
Because a lot of their stories were actually based off extended universe content.
Right.
Like the Jedi Outcast, that was actually based off of one of the extended universe books. And Shadows of the Empire was based off Shadows of the Empire book. Although the character Dash Rendar is canon. Because he actually appears in the special edition of the movies.
Right.
In the background. So he's canon, but his game is not canon. Which, it gets really weird with Star Wars in particular. But I mean, that's a whole other podcast talking about like games and canons and games with weird canons, because we could talk about that too. Oh, this guy wants to leave, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Fine.
Whatever. How many Yodas are there again? There's one Yoda in canon. 3 in non-canon. Because two of them, there's 2 Yodas that appear in the Old Republic games. But yeah, like, I'm sorry this has been hijacked into a Star Wars stream. I apologize dearly.
This is our reality now. We just have to lay back and accept it.
I just wanted to use just the Phantom Menace phenomena as a reference. Like, I didn't mean for it to.
Like I said, I think this is kind of useful because we are kind of seeing, like I said, I think we kind of see some of the elements of what happened with the Phantom Menace incident with the games, and I think especially what you said about like the rule of 3, like most game reviewers are just going off the pure visceral emotional aspect of it. And to be fair, like you said, it's really hard to kind of play a full game when you're looking at 40, 60 hours maybe for like an elaborate RPG, especially you're talking about like and like imagine like a game like Dark Souls, like a reviewer being thrown at that with no facts, no community to discuss, none of that stuff. But the game kind of did but the game did a good job of kind of like finding its audience, and appealing to that group.
Yeah, I'm actually reminded of what was I thinking of? Like, imagine a reviewer trying to review Five Nights at Freddy's.
Right.
Like, because there's so many nuanced puzzle-solving skills required to beat those games. Because you have to figure out the patterns, you have to figure out the timing, you have to figure out the door mechanics, the light mechanics,
Right.
The other reviewer's not gonna put in the time to figure all that out. They're gonna go, "Oh yeah, it's a jump scare game. Moving on."
Right.
And then discovering all the hidden puzzles and hidden lore bits.
Right.
And then like the RNG chance of experiencing Golden Freddy, which only happens 3% of the time.
Right.
Like, a reviewer's not gonna catch all that.
Right.
So they're gonna say, "Oh no, it's just a cheap-looking jump scare game. Move on."
Right. Well, I think like part of it, like part of what kind of appealed about Five Nights at Freddy's is that it was, it was that it kind of did come along right as we had, the rise of YouTube or gamer, streamer type thing, where we, people kind of, the jump scares and the overreaction to the jump scares was entertaining. I think if you really, if you say we're going to critique Five Nights at Freddy's, like understanding that context, I think it would be important too. But that like our viewer is not going to cover that.
Right.
They're not going to understand that. Like because people would see the exaggerated face on a YouTuber. This game kind of got a lot more attention than it might have. Like if it had been developed a decade before.
Right, and that's another example of external factors influencing a game's success.
Right.
Without the YouTube and Twitch stream exposure, Five Nights at Freddy's just would have been another indie project that just kind of.
Right. That might have found its audience, may not have, and but it became much more well known. And probably generated a lot of sales through the YouTube phenomenon.
Oh, he made like $5 million off the first game. If I remember the sales numbers correctly.
Right.
Uh, for a game that was made by a single developer, um, uh, I don't remember what his budget on the game was, but it was very very cheap.
Right.
Oh yeah, and Okar's brought up the point that imagine reviewing the second game without playing the first one,
Right.
which I'm sure happens.
You want to cue us again?